Hi, I'm Dane Campbell. Welcome to Change with Dane. This week, I want to continue our discussions about some of the names we tell ourselves, some of the negative thoughts that we keep in our minds, which are oftentimes based upon a habitual pattern we have developed in explaining the world around us, and maybe even sometimes unconsciously replaying a message that we have gotten over our lives that oftentimes doesn't serve us well. We have talked about the challenge in making lasting changes in our thought processes. And if you have been making those efforts, I want to applaud you. It can be a challenge. It can be very difficult to do that over time and make some of those changes stick. But it's just like any new skill, right? When you first started to learn how to bounce a basketball or tickle the keys on the piano or started to drive, those things felt awkward and very difficult, and you had to think about them every step of the way until you had practiced and practiced and practiced. And now, depending on what skills you use in life, there are, I am sure, very many things that you're able to do without, it's second nature to you. You don't really have to think about it. And our thought processes are sort of the same way, right? We can have negative or difficult or challenging thought processes, and we actually can change them if we practice them, identify them, practice them, and put some effort into to that change. So if you've been working on that and you've been making that effort, I applaud you. It is a very difficult thing to do, and it can be frustrating at times. But I will tell you that having seen many, many patients and clients be successful at this, I know that you can be successful as well. So today, I want to give you another specific skill or another way of maybe thinking about some of the thoughts that you have that might help you in this effort to make lasting changes in your thought processes. I've often noticed with clients and family members and those around me, people that I've been associated with and work with, that a lot of times when people are thinking about themselves and their efforts in life and what they do in life and the mistakes they make and the challenges that they have, a lot of times many of us, all of us maybe, have a tendency to beat up on ourselves, be critical of ourselves, talk down to ourselves, much more so than we would ever do to somebody else that we care about, that we support, and that we love. So today, what I want to talk about is maybe giving you permission to give yourself compassion the way that you would to somebody else. Now, this can be a challenge, right? If you are in the habit of when you make a mistake, kind of tearing yourself down and using a lot of should statements or shouldn't have statements, or I'm better than that, or you get the idea, right? If you dig at yourself and beat yourself up when you've made a mistake, and you do that to a great degree, that is going to have a big impact on the way that you feel about yourself. It may have an impact on some of the behaviors that you do. It may make you eat more, drink more, close off to people who care about you and love you and would normally give you support and help. So it might make you isolate. It might make you feel anxious or depressed. There's a myriad of things that could potentially be linked to the reaction that you have when you do something that you think is bad or wrong or was a mistake or that you shouldn't have done. Now, we've probably all been in situations where someone that we care about and love, we've seen them doing this to themselves. And we probably have a narrative that we would offer to them to try to help them through that situation. We might, give them encouragement. We might help them see the things that they've done in the past, which are good. We might even offer them statements that they could say to themselves, which, for all intents and purposes, could allow them to back away from the negative interplay that they're having with the situation or the thing that they went through, and maybe how they're, beating themselves up and potentially leading them to do things that will not be necessarily beneficial for them. So if you can, think in your mind of a situation where you've actually done this, and I think most of us, if we're adults, we have done this with someone in our lives that we've cared about. And we've offered them alternative ways of thinking or being to try to help them. The funny thing is that when many of us make mistakes, when many of us do things that we didn't intend to, or maybe things didn't go quite right, a lot of times we don't offer ourselves that same compassion, that self-compassion, to be imperfect, to be vulnerable, to be okay with a mistake, or to learn from that situation. We just maybe go to a learned and habitual response of beating up on ourselves, of taking jabs at ourselves, at talking down to ourselves, instead of giving ourselves some of those positive messages that it's going to be okay. We're going to learn from this, and we're still a good person, even if we made this mistake or did this X, Y, and Z thing that we didn't intend to do. Or maybe we even hurt somebody with something we said or did. So the idea here is that when you are beating up on yourself, you recognize it. Number one, remember how we talked way back about slowing the process down so that we could recognize when we're actually having the thought. So number one, we recognize that we're doing this to ourselves and we're saying something to ourselves that's kind of beating ourselves up, and it's not going to be good for us. would not leave us feeling peaceful or happy or, feeling okay about our life and our existence. And once we recognize that, we try to insert in that process, that situation, a statement that we might give to somebody that we love and care about if they were going through the same situation. I don't necessarily know what that is for each and every one of you, but if we were to think about for instance, if you've said to somebody that you love in the past that, hey, it's okay to make mistakes. You can learn from this, and we all make mistakes. And that's how we learn and grow. If that is something we've said to somebody in the past to try to help them, and we totally go off the rails when we make a mistake, beat ourselves up, say we're no good, I should have done better, I should have known better, stop that process and maybe say to yourself, replay in your mind what you would say to somebody. It's okay. We all make mistakes. I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to be better for this. I know that it's not feeling good right now, but this is a temporary emotion. And my hope for myself is that this is something that can help me in the future to learn and grow. I know that this sounds maybe overly simplistic, but it is something that few of us have mastered. And I will tell you that if you can have compassion for yourself, if you can give yourself grace to be human, and that it's okay to make a mistake, and that you can learn and grow from it, you can change the course of the entire outcome of the thought process that you used to have. The intensity can lessen. The duration of the negative outcome can lessen. And oftentimes you're able to think of alternative behaviors that you could do that might be less problematic for you. You might slow the process down, and rather than eat emotionally, maybe you go on a walk. Or rather than drink when normally you would, you talk through it with somebody else before you do that. And that would lessen the emotion and change that whole process and allow you to respond in a more peaceful and potentially beneficial way for yourself. So I would like you to try doing this. The next time something happens in your life, you forget to do something, you do something you didn't intend to, you said something that hurt somebody, and before you start that process of beating yourself up for it, see if there's a compassionate statement that you can offer yourself. A statement of understanding, a statement of care and concern. And yes, you can talk to yourself with care and concern. And see if you can't change that process just a little bit so that the outcome is not as negative, or maybe even tends to be on the positive side. This is the second skill we've talked about, right? We talked about defining a term or defining the name that you might call yourself. And now I've talked about self-compassion, giving yourself statements of understanding and love and forgiveness so that you can change those processes that might have in the past led to a negative behavior or outcome. Really appreciate you listening to Change with Dane. I hope that this is helpful to you. Please like, please subscribe. If you have questions for me, please leave them in the comments below. I'll answer them there, or I'll answer them in a future video. And more than anything, I just want to encourage you to keep on this process of change. We will get to some topics that focus more on behaviors, the things that are measurable that we do or don't do. We're also going to talk about resilience, how to manage change when situations are thrust upon us that we didn't have any control over. Because I think those two areas are also areas that we can impact with our efforts to make our lives better, to bring us greater peace and bring us greater success. So please like, please subscribe. I'd like to, and share if you would. I'd like to get this message out to as many people as I can. And I do very much appreciate you listening. Take care.